So today we're going to talk to George Webb, investigative journalist who covers everything from conspiracy theories to everything in the news. He is a true advocate for freedom, spreading unbiased and truthful information, and that's vibrantly refreshing. And the guy's super interesting, so I'm sure you guys will enjoy it because I'm super excited to talk to him. And thank you for tuning in. Follow, like, share, subscribe, and peace and love to you. Enjoy the day.
So it's because you're a filmmaker, and that's super interesting. So I had to see your movies, so know what kind of movies you make. So there you go.
No, yeah, I appreciate you taking the time because I've dedicated now, it doesn't seem long, but a decade of my life to acting, writing, filmmaking. I published 20 some odd books as well, ranging from poetry to spiritual philosophy to narrative fiction to dirty George Carlin-like comedy, and exploiting sort of, again, social corruption with comedic essence. Because sometimes if you look at it just too straight, it gets very debilitating to the spirit, Like you got to laugh sometimes at the darkness in the world.
Did you grow up in New Jersey?
I did, yeah.
Okay, where were you born?
Here in Jersey, in West Caldwell, Livingston area.
I had some customers over there. I covered New Jersey, New York for a year, and I love, UPS was a big customer up there. All the Sony and Samsung and all them were up in Bergen up there, but out where you live is where Jackie Kennedy had her horse farm, I think, in Essex County. You're in Essex County?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, cool. Did you go to school there? Where'd you go to school?
Yeah, I mean, I went to high school and barely graduated in New Jersey, yeah. So,
Okay, good deal. All right.
yeah, I was rather insubordinate and again, like to make people laugh, and the public education system really wasn't the most fine-tuned tool for me to be in. I kind of saw it wasn't really producing anything significant. I knew I wasn't going to fall into the regular trades, but at the time I didn't know what I wanted to do, though I've always been interested in movies. But I didn't start acting until I was roughly 25 years old because I finally beat that self-sabotaging ego in my head, that fear where I wasn't taking any sort of productive action. And then I finally took my first acting class, found meditation, sort of everything just innately just flowed. And from then on, I just started writing, and then I started helping my teacher with workshops, auditioning for managers, agents, and all that stuff, and going in and out of the city. And then just everything just fell into place. And then from then on, I just been hustling as hard as I could as hard as I could go. So, but yeah, that's cool. So you're originally from up by
No,
Princeton?
I'm from Ohio. I was born near Cleveland, but I just covered New York and New Jersey as a territory. My systems engineer that worked with me was in Orange or West Orange, New Jersey, and we used to go to Hoboken all the time, and that was kind of our, when we went to New Jersey. I lived in the city, four or five different places in New York, but we'd always come, and I would meet him in Hoboken, because he would always take the ferry over to the city. So yeah, it was cool. It's a different lifestyle. My son also went to Columbia, for medical. So, I was up seeing him all the time, up there. And yeah, I love it. New York's a great place. You're at a creative hub, which is cool, to get your work shown and noticed. So that's cool.
Yeah, no, I concur. But as you were talking about your friends in Hollywood, it's definitely challenging that sort of globalist leftist agenda that they perpetuate, because I don't fit into it at all. It's very superficial and materialistic, and it's like it makes it that much harder for me to get my point of view across because it's not trending. I don't identify as a Balinese hooker female, so it's not cool for Hollywood. Not yet.
You got to find the red pillars. You got to find the red pillars in Hollywood. I know who they are. There's not
No,
many.
so that's great. And as you said, there isn't many. So it's challenging, but it's fun.
You start whatever you want. I'm ready to roll.
No, all this stuff is good. The organicness is good so far. So whatever you want to talk about, don't hold back, because this is your field. I don't follow every single news case or conspiracy theory. I admire it very much. I think it's awesome. Because it's a little overwhelming for me sometimes to follow all that, work on my own stuff, and it's a lot. But when did you become a private investigator, an investigative journalist? And let's just clarify, you're not some investigative journalist that claims to be an investigative journalist that's on CNN perpetuating bullshit. Like, you're the real deal. I saw you at the murder scene of the open AI CEO, well, one of the founders.
Well, he's not the founder, but I did go to the murder scene of the guy who did the AI training for OpenAI. And
Okay.
everyone is saying that the CEO killed him, which is Sam Altman. I have a different take on it. I'm saying this Chinese company called DeepSeek that destroyed the market yesterday is the one that got the training data. But yeah, I went there and filmed it because everyone, like Tucker Carlson, used my footage. Daily Mail basically went there 6 weeks after I did and shot a lot of the same pictures. And it's how you get the story out. Like you know, a tree falls in the forest and nobody hears it. You do great creative work, but nobody hears it. Then it just like you did it, never did it. So finally, Tucker did it. Elon did retweet it 4 times, so that helped tremendously because he's an AI billionaire competitor to OpenAI.
Yeah, I know that. Congratulations on that, because as you said, it's so vibrantly refreshing when you put in all this hard work and you finally get the clout. It's not that you're not already being recognized by putting it out there, but when someone with, a bigger following or notoriety is there to help you and they see your work, it makes you very, well, at least in my case, very humbled and just grateful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
200 million followers. So that
Oh.
when he gives you a double exclamation point, that helps a lot,
No,
versus
yeah.
me, I'm, 135K and I work with Ian Carroll who has 1 million followers. He helped the story a lot. Mario Nafal helped the story. He has 2 million followers. James Lee helped the story. Each one of these guys gave it a boost, and now it's people are really looking at it. And hopefully with Cash Patel coming in at FBI, hopefully he'll reopen the case. And that's what we're really trying to do for the mother is get the case reopened.
Yeah, I saw that clip. It was rather heartbreaking, because they don't believe that. I mean, obviously parents are always sort of in, some form of denial, or anyone during grief, but it seems to be, as from what I saw, things that you've researched, it doesn't just seem to be conclusive that the gentleman took his own life.
Now there's 3 different struggle areas. There's another blood over by where, the backpacks were, where the hard drive was that's missing. Nothing was stolen other than a missing hard drive, a backup drive. So there's a lot of things in the case that just don't make any sense. Tucker concluded it was a murder. Elon concluded it was a murder. Everyone who's seen it that's got a decent following has said it's a murder. So I think we're going to get justice for the mom. I just told her, I've talked to some people in the Trump campaign, Dan Scavino and other people, and just hang on. This week is when Cash Patel goes up and they're trying to like hell to stop him right now. But if he gets in there, he is going to open this case. He's an Indian American as well, so he's got some skin in the game here of like, are you going to just research Trump's cases, or are you going to be your own man and go research your cases? And this would be a really good one to start because Elon's so close to Trump. So
And from what I
we'll see.
understand, Elon has beef, like he hates that guy, Sam Altman, right? Correct?
Yeah.
I'm gonna build
He
a
gave $100 million. They were in the same building. I went to the same building. Am I talking to you loud now? Sorry.
No, not at all. If you see me looking off, I'm just checking the camera frames to make sure there's no technical, like, stop recording, because shit like that, happens. So
Okay.
that's
Yeah,
why,
yeah.
yeah. So don't sweat that. No,
Okay,
I'm not
okay.
being held hostage or anything. So no.
No, well, I know you're a good editor, so I've already seen, and not to switch topics, but I mean, Elon is driving this thing. He's not going to let it go. He put 100 million bucks into OpenAI. They said they were going to keep it open. What they did is basically they trained AI, and in training AI is basically just feeding in everything from the internet, all your movies, all your songs, all your writing, all your books. You wrote 20 books, right? And then everyone else is all over the world, and all that gets jammed into the system, and you need a lot of processors and a lot of electricity and a lot of time, and that's what they used Elon's $100 million for. This is what I want to tell Elon. But at the end of that process, it all comes down to a language model which you can fit on a removable hard drive, and that can be taken to China. And the people who he's dealing with, they kind of cut him off at the knees. They cut Elon off at the knees because they closed the code. It was supposed to be open. They closed it after they burned his 100 million. And then they had their little side hustle in China, right? All these people that are running OpenAI that they brought in the board are the same people who did the Gypsy Switch with Facebook. You know, the Winklevosses. If I don't know if you saw Aaron Sorkin's Social Network, but that movie, the whole movie with how Mark Zuckerberg stole the code from the Winklevosses and everything, that whole thing. Larry Summers was the orchestrator of all that at Harvard. So this is Larry Summers doing the gig again, stealing the code again, and farming it out to his friends in China. And you know, Elon's needs to know that, you know. So we'll see if he picks up the story or not. Yeah.
No, wishfully so. It must be so challenging for you because like the news changes so every day. There's something new, something different. People forget. Like I'm still fixated on like what the fuck were the New Jersey drones? You know, no, that's gone now. Trump said he was going to address it. I guess you know he's busy doing tons of stuff, but we still don't really know. You know, it just kind of disappeared, and there's still drones flying up. But like, what kind of perpetuated distraction was that during legacy media? You know, like, what was the intention besides like the Luigi thing happened at that time? And I know the affiliation with the Pelosi's that I saw, the research that you did. Maybe you can elaborate on that in layman's
Well,
terms.
first on the drones. First on the drones. For 7 years or 8 years, I've been talking about this Fort Belvoir, which is where the intelligence command is in Virginia. It's called Defense Threat Reduction Agency, and they track all the nuclear, they track all the bioweapons, and I call it the Defense Threat Production Agency because they seem to be doing false flags more than they do protect America against, you know, these weapons of mass destruction. And the drones, the sniffing drones, if you will, or whatever you want to call them, are supposed to find loose nukes. And that's what I think was happening. But what I've seen happen before is they deliberately let, you know, they leave some loose nukes on the end of the truck. The proxies come in and get the loose nukes, and then they start looking, you know, after, you know, oh, they robbed the loose nukes because they want to put the suitcase bomb. They want to put the suitcase nuclear bomb under Trump's desk and go, hey, if you sign that bill or you do this, you do that, I'm gonna light up this nuke. And I'm waiting for that other shoe to drop. So they've gone through the whole process of looking for the loose nukes. You know, in Fort Monmouth, I know from New Jersey is kind of where the action is, and that goes all the way back to the Rosenbergs when they gave away the explosive lens, you know, for the A bomb, right? So New Jersey is always a part of all this. Underneath the bridge, you know, the down in Perth Amboy is where they had the original all the uranium for the A bomb
I didn't know that. That's crazy.
from Congo. So New Jersey's got a lot. I've got a good friend in New Jersey who keeps me up to date on the governor there and all the stuff going on in New Jersey. But that's what I think the drones are. And so the drones shouldn't be dropped. That's going to be a suitcase nuke to threaten Trump sooner or later, right? So you may as well start looking for the nukes now.
And that Netflix better watch out. They're going to be where Fort Monmouth is. That's going to be the new Netflix studios. I don't know if you're aware of that. 2028.
Oh no, I didn't.
Yeah, they purchased the land and they're working stuff out with the lovely governor of New Jersey. I don't know what they finagle, but yeah, I say that with all sarcasm. He's that guy.
Yeah, you
The
got a piece
state's
of work.
pretty whack. Yeah.
Yeah, you got a piece of work, Governor. Hey, you know, it was New Jersey's great, you know, especially in the summer when you go down to the, you know, Trump had all that stuff down there at the boardwalk in Atlantic City and stuff. It's fun to go to the shore and
The
everything. And
Jersey Shore is the best.
yeah,
You know, people undervalue how beautiful our beaches are. They're pretty awesome. And I love the summer. I'm always on the beach, so
yeah. Well, and you're close to you can always hop on the train on the Amtrak and get down to DC and cover DC if you decide to do that, if that's where your filmmaking takes you. And you know, I know you did your first film. You know, well, it's not your first film, but it's the film about COVID, um, because you were politically inspired, and that's always an interesting thing, right? When you're politically inspired, but the next one you do is going to probably be a little more, I don't know, a little more dramatic and artistic, maybe, or how do you think your next one's going to go?
like heavy comedy because I started writing comedy. I miss it immensely. Everything's been so sci-fi-ish. I mean, I always have an essence of comedy because I love comedy and that's what I began doing. I went sci-fi dystopic because COVID was this crazy time that it was so surreal. You couldn't believe that you were living through it. And it was normal because no one knew what the fuck to expect. People were 6 feet apart, masking, separated. But and then you saw parents making their children wear their masks around other kids. It was like psychotic. You can't even just talking about it now. You can't really wrap your head around just that it actually happened. And then when I saw that how much more I was being censored, first it used to be for health and advocating for health and natural holistic principles that go against big pharma because they can't patent anything in nature and work with, the foods in nature and supplements and natural things. And I saw the censorship there, but then it became so much more during COVID that it was like I had to speak about it, and I had to make a movie about it because I was like, this is crazy. People are literally brainwashed and taking experimental gene therapies labeled as vaccines. Just the fact that people put that much faith in institutions, it perplexed me. There was no questioning. There was no healthy amount of skepticism. And that was frightening to me because that can lead people to literally do anything to the extremes of a mass genocide. If people feel threatened, they will follow what the government tells them to. And I saw the government abusing their power, and I was like, this is fucking crazy. I never voted in my entire life until the recent Trump election because I thought, and I would have voted for Kennedy, but once he joined with Trump, which was the best thing ever because wishfully he gets in because I don't know if you know, but we probably do. They're doing everything they can to not get him in, including apparently a company that Bill Gates funds on the down low with 17,000 fake doctor signatures. So you can go on there. Alex Jones, I saw, he went on there, said he was a doctor and he doesn't want RFK Jr. to get in. So, and they don't ask for any certifications, any degrees or anything. So it's crazy. They're still going so hard. And to me, President Trump's doing everything he can in the most challenging situations. It seems to be for the first time, I have a positive outlook on centralized government. And it seems like things are changing slowly but surely. And people are still trying to undermine him. And I think Sam Altman was another one of those side companies donating to sort of throw off Trump's genuine initiative with Bill Gates. Can you elaborate more on that? Do you know?
I'm not familiar with the Sam Altman Bill Gates connection, other than just the Microsoft. I mean, OpenAI has somebody who used to run the Gates Foundation on there. I think her name is Hellman. I can't remember the first, but one of those hyphenated names with Hellman, and and then a whole bunch of Microsoft people that are on that board, and so they've kind of taken over OpenAI. So the just the financial ties. Microsoft owns 49% of OpenAI, so they have a lot of sway. They have three board members at least. I think they packed the board. Actually, there's five. So, with Sam Altman, they tried as good as hard as they could to rebadge him as not the enemy with Bill Gates. They tried to distance him with the Stargate, announcement with Larry Ellison and Oracle and so forth to make him not look like such a Microsofty. But Nardella, the CEO of Microsoft, I worked with Microsoft a long, long time, is in control. They're in the driver's seat. They're acting like this is a takeover by Larry Ellison, but I think they're just trying to get in good graces that Elon has the obvious, he won all the swing states, especially Pennsylvania, for Trump. And there's a little bit of payback there. So it's going to be interesting. They're all the AI billionaires. They're all billionaires and they're all the leaders in AI. And this is kind of the horse race of your time and my time, my third or fourth time around. But it's interesting.
The most beautiful yet frightening thing was for the first time, we've never heard someone say a cure for cancer. It's always a treatment, but they had stated a cure. And you're like, when you say these people that are involved, you have to be skeptical to their intentions and what they're saying. 'Cause I don't know if you've heard, I've never heard anyone state that, especially within government in affiliation with other corporations, say that a cure for cancer, because that gives immense amount of hope to people that are struggling. And then when you research and dig and you say things like this, it's like, what are their intentions? It is experimentation, so to speak. So
it's experimentation. And the reason why it's experimentation is basically they're taking your antibodies that you raise against a tumor, and then they're just basically taking that genetic sequence, lopping off the ability for that to grow, and then giving you, printing out for you that vaccine. And they want to, engender this whole new generation of printable vaccines that you can print out at home. It's the ultimate licensing model. It's basically the same Bill Gates licensing model that he had for the operating systems. I don't want to be in charge of that. I'll have all my OEMs load Microsoft Windows. I just want to sell the micro, get the money, right? So that's where they want to go with this thing, and it's a dystopian world. It's all genetic, it's all experimentation because every vaccine, if it's personalized, is going to be different. So there's by definition no way to test anything before you get it. And what they want is your feedback. What happens to your body? What happens to those cancer pathways after they perturb your system? If you go and look at the COVID vaccine, it actually had these SV40 promoters. SV40 promotes cancer. If you look on any of the AI, it'll reactivate cancer in you. And the clinical data also shows that these people have been in remission for 20 years, and now they get these shots. And now your friend, who, your uncle who died so suddenly, with all the boosters, it bears out. And so I think people are not falling for it. By the way, all this stuff, the countermeasures, these military countermeasures, now that they're trying to do the genetic experimentation, all come from Fort Belvoir and the Defense Threat Reduction Agency. That's where the countermeasures are developed. So I've been working on Fort Belvoir for 8 years. And whatever is going to try to upset the apple cart with the presidents, it's going to come out of there. They're the ones that come up with the false flags, either bioweapons or the loose nukes or whatever. So I keep a close watch on them.
Now that legacy media is definitely dying and the distrust in them is immense, do you feel that it's going to be harder for them to get their message out other than using like physical biological warfare, so to speak, and physical, like let's say how the left uses and polarizes cultural issues and protests and all those different things, BLM, LGBTQ, they pretend to empower people, in my opinion, that they're giving them basically false rights and false notions of freedom when they're really just distracting them and promoting segregation and promoting separation and fighting among society, while they always rake in the money, or they're always planning their next fucking plan to rake in more and more money to have more control. Now that X is a platform where you can't be censored for the most part. I know some people will disagree with that, but that it gives more hope for people like you and other investigative journalists to spread true, free, unbiased news to help exploit these people.
Wasn't for X. I mean, I don't know what. I mean, I had a Senator Warner from Virginia, along with Donnie O'Sullivan from CNN, used Section 230 and wrote a letter to YouTube, destroyed, I can't remember how many thousands of videos that I had done on site. On site reports, cost money. When you go shoot somewhere, it's not just free. You, as a filmmaker, you know that. And so that really hurt. And then Amazon, Jeff Bezos knocked me down after I sold about 20,000 books on Amazon, had a lot of bestsellers on Amazon. So if it wasn't for X, there would be no platform. Facebook has been okay, but Facebook isn't really where I spend a lot of my time. X is more of a newsy. Facebook's more of a family friends, I think. Some people use it for news, but I don't. And I do think X is where the action is. And that also is going to be good for AI. If he ever figures out Grok, ever figures out how to use that training data for Twitter, or excuse me, X, it will make a great product. And he's coming up fast. Grok is a good platform. It's coming up fast, but this deep seek out of China kind of caught everybody by surprise.
Yeah, I love Grok. I use it all the time. It's rather unbelievable. It helps just consolidate sort of where, as an entrepreneur, where you want to dedicate your creative energy. Like if you don't feel like spending hours writing something, a cover letter, whatever it may be, it can just synopsize and just formulate things for you to build upon in a short period of time. It's great creatively.
I think also for like in your business, like storyboarding, I use it as sort of a storyboard concept because it's like a picture's worth 1,000 words, and then I'll put my text in there, but I'll kind of use the Grok images as sort of touchstones along the way to make sure my audience is with me. And then my audience may disagree with me, or they may say something, and then I'll say, oh, I'll have to look at that again. But it is more of they show and tell versus just tell. And I find it as very effective for visual communication. I really don't even see myself as a writer. I see myself as a visual communicator, not like you, which is a lot harder. Motion pictures are a lot harder just because of the sound and people moving and the backgrounds and the midgrounds and all the stuff that you have to deal with as a filmmaker. I wish I had that kind of talent, but I'm kind of right in the middle there with Grok is just using still pictures right now.
Whatever floats your boat. But yeah, directing live egos, live human beings, it's an interesting thing. When it's funny, creativity's birthed out of formlessness. It starts as nothing, a blank page, and then words. And as you said, motion picture, to me, it's always been the most profound act of creativity because you're incorporating literally everything: live actors, theater, music, lighting. I think it's always, I guess that's why I've always been so taken by movie making, because it's just, there's so much into it, and it can reach and touch so much. And also, one of the strongest things in my opinion about narrative fiction is the system, the Hollywood agenda, even for the most part, will not censor narrative fiction because they feel that the audience, the public, is too foolish to realize that it's actually promoting and advocating for a healthy sense of evolution. In other words, like talk about, like, let's say Oliver Stone's one who makes, movies like Snowden, things that normally wouldn't be accepted by government and Hollywood collusion. But when you make it a narrative fiction film, it's like allowed. Like even YouTube, I took my movie down once, I appealed it, put it back up. It censors it from the algorithm 100%. I've seen that, especially when I do certain clips, or if the algorithm, YouTube's algorithm, I don't know in depth, but it seems to pick up on any form of speech, especially if it wasn't advocating for like Trump or something. Like it will just get 0 views. It's pretty profound to me. And you have to just do all these tricky things in order, if you're against the agenda, it's very challenging to get stuff like that on YouTube seen, in my opinion, and from my experience. So it's like, it's crazy. But yeah, narrative fiction is just like, it bypasses that regulatory system where like, oh, well, it's fake, so that's cool. China knows that it's not the case. That's why they don't allow certain movies and dialogue in their country. But here, for some reason, I guess they're cocky enough to be like, okay, well, that can stay still. Especially during the Biden administration. Now things are changing finally with freedom of speech, which is vibrantly refreshing. But
Hey, I know it was a long movie with Costner, but it was a good, it got a lot of stuff out because a lot of those things were in books and you had to kind of collate and collect it if you were a JFK guy. But now he just lays it all out in 3 hours. And then I can go back. It's nice foundation for me because then I can go back and say, well, here's where he left out Oswald and the McCone memo becoming a CIA agent in 57. And here's where he left out him becoming an FBI informant in the summer of 62. Right. And so you could just add on top of, you can layer on top of because everybody's seen the movie. So those creative fictions, narrative fictions, or near fiction, I guess, really help. They help lay the foundation, so it makes my job easier. So I point right there, and people remember the various characters a lot better. Everything kind of comes to life, which is kind of cool.
yeah, it helps you educate people who don't have any really clue, and then opens their mind too. So it's definitely a good tool.
I wanted to ask you about your film, and can you take a little popcorn from the audience, a little kibitzing? Um, I think it's kind of like evergreen. It's gonna happen again. H5N1 is coming. They're gonna do it again. H5, H7N9, something. And so I think all of your like backbone narrative about how people are having to make choices, and some people are siding with the government, and some people are going, I don't think I'm gonna get pulled into that. I think that's kind of timeless. And I really, as a filmmaker, I wanted to ask you if you think AI will help you reuse that footage because it's so much effort that you put into the movie and all those cuts. Every time you change the camera and everything, it takes a lot of effort to do it all like you did. What do you think? Do you think you'll use it again, repurpose it, or just it's in the can as it is?
No, I repurpose it until I have more footage from other films. I'm always using and working it because it's very, as you say, its prevalence going to continue. Unfortunately, most likely things we're going to experience again, more crazy acts like COVID, brought on by greedy people, but wishfully maybe not as severe with new administration as long as it stays like that. people that are genuinely trying to help people and not advocate for this, tyrannical society. So yeah, I feel it'll definitely be of use and continued use. And it humbles me because as someone who, a lot of those days, luckily I have a lovely production partner, Kevin Harrington, who I had shooting some of the stuff, but a lot of the times it was me and the camera too, some shoot days. And I'm acting in it, and I'm doing sound and lighting. So that's like true bare bones independent filmmaking. Like things at Cannes and Sundance, like those are millions, and even $100,000, $10,000 is a lot of money for an independent filmmaker. We're doing this for nothing, and we're putting, and the value is, to me, with the minimal things that we have, other than beautiful talent and people really believing in motion picture and the art of film, it's priceless, and the work speaks for itself because we do good. So I'm waiting for and working towards that Netflix money, so to speak, or any studio money to invest and see what we can do with big bucks, because I've worked on sets and I've seen the immense waste, and we don't have time to waste, so we definitely use things efficiently with a bigger budget for a movie.
You don't have $10,000 a day for craft, the craft layout.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, and like the person doing lights can't pick up a drop screwdriver because of SAG guidelines. It's absurd. Right now, as I was telling you before, the movie that I'm trying to produce and working towards producing, because there's a lot that goes into it because there's so many people. It's Rest in Peace, Bed and Breakfast, which is a dark comedy thriller and unfolds over just several chapters, introducing new characters with each chapter, just all with their dubious lives, and just culminating into later a night of chaos in a mysterious bed and breakfast. And there's characters and sub-stories like the thieves and the politician, pointing out government corruption, the director and actor who are basically doing anything and everything to get their movie noticed, a horny realtor that's having an affair with the governor's wife. It's this whole crazy slew of things, and these stoner characters. So again, I'm always going to be pulling from reality and sort of exploiting human ego and sort of what leads to greed and corruption and just false self-righteousness, so to speak, but always going to be pulling from reality. So basically, I feel things like that will always sort of live genuinely, eternally, because they'll always be prevalent. I'm like, and relatable, because, when you're writing about not only just your own experience, but observing society, which tends to repeat, as you know, history repeats itself over and over, unfortunately. That's the good thing about it. It's just going to resonate true each time someone, watches it, whether it be a decade later or a day later. And wishfully, it's just as engaging and fun. And this, I just want to put a smile on people's souls and face, because I just want to make people laugh.
Yeah, there was a movie called 10 Little Indians. It's an old play, but same idea, where there's, a lot of the Hercule Poirot, like Murder on the Orient Express. Yeah, there was a movie that was done. Well, they redid that movie. So a lot of those murder mystery comedy are fun. By the way, I should tell our audience that that is not Madonna, and Madonna is not your mother, but that is your mother.
I don't think Madonna's my mother, but yes,
Yeah,
it is my mom.
she's from New Jersey, so people are going to ask. They're going to say, "Oh,
She's a Jersey girl.
Michael's mother's Madonna." Michael's mother is not Madonna, and she's not Jackie Kennedy either.
She is
So
not.
even though
My mom just hosted one of our cooking shows, because I don't know, I do culinary educational cooking shows to promote regenerative agriculture with this lovely company, US Wellness. So I was a private chef for many years. That's actually what funded my first feature film. So yeah, my mom was the host. She hosted. She's on point. We're actually just on Emerald's newest air fryer promo show. We were in an interactive audience, so he had all guests in his audience, and Emerald fed my mom because he's a ladies' man. He's still got it, and he bam, all good stuff. But so we'll be looking for that soon, because it's supposed to be air.
what a show that would be, New Jersey Chef, because I've met Guy, out in Las Vegas, and then there's the other chef, the mean guy with the spiky hair. I can't remember his name. Gordon Ramsay.
Oh yeah, no, he's on fire. Yeah, I dig Gordon.
Yeah, I just think he's too mean. But anyway, I
Well,
like,
it's shtick though. I think that's like,
yeah,
you know Andrew Tate, right?
sure, the MMM fighter, or MMA, or well, yeah,
Yeah,
sorry.
I try and ponder, like, is he really that good at being like a dick, or is he
Yeah.
like, because he's so good at it, and like that's how he makes, I guess, popular essentially, because people just hate on him so much. It perplexes me because some of this shit, it just It's like my old high school self, like my immature, like shocking, like I just want to shock the public. Like that's why some of it resonates with me, like old Michael. But it
Yeah.
cracks me the fuck up is some of the things he posts. I don't know if you saw Selena Gomez, her immigration, their video of her crying,
Crying. Yeah. Yeah.
which it's heartbreaking to see. I might just be biased because I find Selena Gomez very sexy, but either way, regardless of politics, you get it. It's a challenging situation, but in the reality, this country, in regards to immigration, is so messed up. I mean, we have homeless veterans, tons of homeless people, which are apparently, did you know they're being used as firefighters in LA? That's the
Yep.
thing.
Right here, right now.
Yeah,
Yep.
let's talk about that, being that's
Yeah.
where you're at. That's crazy. Crazy.
Well, there's a lot of people. Our studio where I made films with Peter Duke, the great Hollywood director and creative consultant, burned to the ground completely. His studio and his house. Also, his wife was a writer and doing reporting. All that burned, all the camera equipment. You're as a filmmaker, all of his cameras. He launched Sharon Stone and all these other top models. All that's burned. All the prints, rolls of film from 35, 40 years of that. His daughter, who lived up by the reservoir that they let go empty, 117 million gallon reservoir goes empty. Yeah, of
Yeah,
course
what's
you're going to
that?
have.
Fire trucks were in the shop. Nothing was ready. Like, what was it, like hundreds of fire trucks that were not even able to be used?
You
Like,
wouldn't even have had to have fire trucks if you would have just had the reservoir full, because then the fire hydrants would have been working. So even if the pumper trucks weren't full, you would have still had it. But I mean, the reservoir, the empty reservoir, is the story of the Palisades fire. But her daughter's house and his ex-wife's house burned down, and his brother's house burned down. So it's like the whole family is going, and then they went to Newport Beach. The fires chased them there. And then they went to Oxnard, which is totally in the other direction. The fires chased him there, and he's just like, he's really kind of like one of those refugees, from the bombing, where they every time the family moved, then the Allies would, or whatever, would bomb that city, and they would have to move again. That's kind of how they're doing it right now. But you know, um, that whole thing about immigration and I speak Spanish. My kids are in the health field. They all both speak Spanish. I want to reach out to people who are Hispanic that are here and they're working and they're a backbone of America. They do all the kind of the more menial jobs of food and the hotel, hospitality, the construction all over the place. Um, so there's a whole bunch of things they do, and I think Trump needs to kind of say, that's not my priority. Right. And maybe he's already done this in a way, but the criminals with the gangs and the fentanyl and the overdoses, that's my enemy. And he has done that with his executive order and said, okay, I'm going to go after these people with the 82nd Airborne. And they're down here on the border right now with, San Ysidro down in San Diego. And, I probably should go cover that story, but I think the left, like you said, they're such dream spinners and liars, like the Selena Gomez, like Trump's going into schools, and yanking kids out of kindergarten, and putting them on, in the prison bus, It's not happening. That's a total lie. But yet you see these people on the left going to schools and talking about, how your children might be abducted and so forth. No, Trump's going to, I see where the 82nd Airborne is. It's down on the border where these guys are leaving because they don't want to get trapped here and they don't want to get arrested. So the whole immigration thing, I think, could be a little more nuanced, I guess, is all I'm saying. I would like to see Trump just be a little more nuanced in saying, hey, let's figure out a way to get these dreamers. I was on Capitol Hill work, and I saw Mark Short coming back and forth trying to get these dreamer kids who they've been here 5, 6, 10 years. They can speak English just like you and me. They're the translators and interpreters for their abuelos and abuelas, for their family. So I really don't, I really, and a lot of Hispanic men voted overwhelmingly for Trump, like 56%, which is totally new. because of the construction industry and kind of identifying with Trump as and all those things. So I really, that would be my one thing to Trump is just say, I'm not going to destroy families. You know, the Holman said, you know, we'll deport them all as one family. And he shouldn't have said that because there's at least 2 or 3 million criminals that they can get started on before they ever have to go lift a family. And I would like to see some kind of solution for the dreamers. No question what you said about the veterans, because the treatment veterans have received is disgraceful. My dad was a veteran, couldn't, you know, VA, couldn't get a back surgery for 30 years. You know, I've been through the whole thing. So that's the first thing. We have a outreach for veterans for suicide, you know, with equine therapy in Michigan. So yes, yes, yes on all the veteran stuff, but a little bit more nuanced on the immigration message, I think.
Yeah, I think that guy, the borders are sometimes just says things, you know, like which when you're in when you have that much clout, when you're in such a high position, I feel consciousness is that's why I'm such a fan of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. because he articulates himself in such a peaceful, like he really he's there. He's so, I can't even explain it. He's like to me, he's an unbelievable human being. I've never met him. I don't know him, but just observing and feeling his presence and just leadership, it's very peaceful and truthful, you know. But yeah, in regards to it's weird. The left, I don't know what the intention is as far as like if it's just stroking their own egos. They're just so blinded by their egos of like equality, helping this, DEI, like inclusion. Like I don't know what I know what the globalist agenda is, but I don't know if they're just so puppeted to the point where they have no clue, or we just want to be really good people, you know. Like I don't know what their intention genuinely is. Like people like Newsom, like what is it? Allowing transgender surgeries, like and non-consent of parents to know if their kid identifies as a cat or a dog. You know what I'm saying? Like it's what is the purpose? Like what is it? It's just
Well, I think the gender confusion is to reduce the population. I mean, I think that's,
nice
you
way to
know,
say it, though.
yeah, you get kids asking questions about should I really be, you know, boys saying should I really be a girl and vice versa in, you know, 5, 6 years, 7 years old. That's not going to make for a very healthy dating person at 16, 17, 18, you know. Now, I interviewed a transgender woman who became a man in Salisbury, England. I had a 3 hour interview, and he went through all 17 of the operations in England. The country paid for it all, and he was a beautiful woman to start with, and he ended up as a very good looking man. And a lot of these, um, you know, things don't turn out that way. A lot of the Biden officials that had done the transgender
Yeah.
thing, it was a train wreck, you know. So I mean, so all those things, you know, I saw the best example. I think he was like the national example of how, but England was paying for all that, and there are people in England that don't have heat. You know, this last winter, their gas bills just went through the roof, and are all of the UK, and so what's the priority? You know, I mean, it's great that he turned out so well. He's such a poster child for it, and but all these surgeries, you know, the National Health Service was paying for all of that. I just think that, and then you know, in my age, you know, I remember when I was 17, 18, Title IX was coming in, so women would have a chance at sports and equal money would be spent on women's sports as men's. And that was what the Democrats were saying. I come from a very Democratic family. And then this transgender thing is to bring these men over. You know, that boxing guy from Italy, I think was the last straw. That's when I want to bring Andrew Tate out. I want to go, okay, you're going to compete against women. Okay, you know how that feels. You beat them all up. Okay, now I'm going to bring in Andrew over here, or bring in Mike Tyson even, because you know, if I was Trump, I'd say, look, anybody who wants to compete transgender in your NCAA sports, fine, but you have to fight Mike Tyson at the end, and just see who all stays in it, because getting the shit kicked out of you. I mean, I played basketball in college, and it's not like football, but still those are men, right? By the time they're 22. And when you get hit with an elbow, you know you got hit. And I can't even imagine somebody like that with women playing.
Yeah, biologically, it's unfair. It's weird. Like I'm for everyone to be who they want to be, but when you're perpetuating it and using it and polarizing it to for political reasons, and as you say, for population reasons, I think to make the population more sterile, to also promote horrible, harmful hormone, cancer promoting drugs by the pharmaceutical companies because they're making immense amounts of money from that. The more people that have gender confusion, the more, estrogen pill, all these crazy things that we know promote cancer. Birth control promotes forms of cancer, which we all know. So it's like all these simple things sort of add up. It's very odd. It's very strange. So
Can I go back to your movie for a second?
yeah, of course.
Um, so so I made a comment on Twitter on your movie that I said it's kind of like even though it's set during the COVID, it's kind of like a dystopian future kind of thing, which is like Fahrenheit 451 I thought of, and I thought of, 1984, and I thought of kind of Brave New World. And I that's why I thought the shots and everything and what the people were saying were evergreen, that this was going to happen again. And I don't know, did you have that intention, or were you just trying to make a document for the time? Because it was kind of had a future dystopian tone to it.
We were living during a future dystopian regime during COVID, so it's just like, dude, this is crazy. So I just wanted to like really highlight that to the extreme, to the beginning, to the opening scene with the germaphobe, where he's in his hazmat suit and he ran out of groceries and he's on the phone, which later is revealed his mother, who's one of the head of the cult leaders. Spoiler alert, and just to show just how crazy we all were, during that time of just all that fear that was propagandized. Like I work part-time with children and I saw the psychological in a very liberal, wealthy area, mind you, where there's Black Lives Matters signs on their lawns everywhere, but if a black man moves next to them, oh, I don't think feel safe anymore, that type of hypocrisy. But their kids, it just it damaged their minds so much and well-being. They're so scared, and that's gonna be collectively conditioned, for a long, long time because of that event. In the mind of children, in the mind of adults, people are as if people had enough problems being social with each other because of technology and being on their phones and being so disconnected from nature, from people all the time. It's like the pandemic just added this layer of, especially people still are wearing masks despite, Fauci admitting all of his too many of his wrongdoings and being pardoned for it. But
I want to ask you about the germaphobe guy. Is he a comedian? Is he a stand-up comedian?
he's just one. I went to acting school with him. I've known him for a long time. He's one of the most talented. He's so charismatic in everything he does. Will Darsh is his name. He's unbelievable. This kid
He's
is
funny.
he's so SNL, like
Yeah, yeah,
old
yeah.
SNL. He's so talented. Like I'm
Improv
trying.
get kind of guy. He's
Yeah,
funny. The
but
germaphobe is good. And then that I want to see more of that character, right? If you ever write him into any other things. And then the black guy, kind of the tank guy, they're having it out with the philosophy guy on the couch.
oh,
Where did go
the
ahead?
Kay Lofton. He's one of the stoner characters,
Yeah, hmm.
and he's talking about losing his virginity. And
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Good.
it's, sometimes virginities get see in dystopian worlds where social distancing is prevalent. You don't lose your virginity till you're like 40 sometimes, not by
Now,
choice.
where those guys from the improv as well, or where?
One of them I went to acting school with, and we stayed buddies forever. And then the other one, so most of the actors in that movie, about half and half, are from casting, from breakdown. So I post castings, and then they audition. And so the gentleman who's one of the leaders, the husband of the wife of the cult, to me, he's one of the best actors ever. Dean, I say he's like a George Clooney-esque type of voice and look-alike. But he's been in everything. He's been in just about every single one of my movies. And again, I met him in acting school. And to me, I always tell him, like, dude, I gotta make you famous because he's just got it. He's a
Yeah,
great.
he has that big star kind of look,
And that was a smaller role for him because he has a family, and a lot of times families tend to mess scheduling up for filming. So he gives me whatever time he can. Otherwise, I would have gave him way more dialogue and parts. But everything is in. He was in my last film, Amnesia. Amnesia is a short film we went really hard on. That was before vaccination. It was basically about this guy. He gets in a car accident, loses his memory, and he's living with his girlfriend and her father. And long story short, he's you don't know what to believe, but he's been sort of an experimental consciousness alteration by the father, who is this crazy scientist and controlling his mind and memory. It's like this old experimental sci-fi-ish sort of movie, and it's pretty gnarly and very suspenseful. We shot it like a feature. In other words, that's how we went at it. It was under 30 minutes, but very good movie nonetheless. I'm very proud of everyone involved. Did a beautiful job. But his part in that is longer, and he's very talented, Dean Lewis. I love him. He's a great guy. Yeah. But thank you for
Yeah,
asking.
he holds the screen pretty well, and the girl that's with him on the steps there, and you guys have some scenes together. Um, she kind of reminded me of the opposite of, you remember Coyote Ugly was done in, because she's they're from like Perth Amboy or something like that, and they go into the city and they go live in the city and so forth. She kind of reminded me of the, I can't remember what the lead actor gal was in Coyote Ugly, but the other gal that goes into, yeah, uh-huh. So is she also from the improv group or from the?
No, I think she was that the girl you're talking about. She was casted, and actually, a lot of these people, it was their first feature film, and they did a beautiful job. You know, when you have like nil budget, it's very challenging to find people that are nonetheless just reliable, that will show up and and be professional and kind. So it's very refreshing how everything sort of came together. I mean, I had to rewrite the script, so it wasn't my character wasn't intended to be the hero of the script. It was actually my wife, but my wife, the girl who played my wife, was a sweetheart. It was just way too much drama in her own life, and you couldn't finish it with her. So I had to rewrite it last minute, which that happens as an independent filmmaker, but it's cool. But I want to ask you an important question. I've been meaning to ask you this since we began chatting.
Oh, sure.
What made you, and when did you become an investigative journalist?
Oh, okay. Well, I grew up. I was played basketball to get through college, and I was going to be a stockbroker. And then all of a sudden, the I read this book called Running Wild, and it said, "Oh, the chips are going to take over the world. Silicon Valley is going to be the next thing." And so I went out west. That's where I raised my family, and I worked in high tech for 35 years. I worked for IBM, HP, Sun Microsystems. I worked for a couple of startups too, a lot of startups actually. I would consult with in my jobs. I was kind of like the outreach guy for software developers, so I got to see a lot of different. I got to see Google when it was really small. I worked for Eric Schmidt, who ended up at Sun, who ended up running Google, and um, so I know Silicon Valley pretty well. But then all of a sudden one day, it's the old red pill moment where a guy you were working with, I worked with him at Network Associates in Santa Clara. We hired these guys. We bought a company in Moscow, 12 guys. They were the old cyber warfare group in Moscow. Soviet Union had collapsed about 8 years, and now we were picking them up in '99. And one of the guys, Dmitry Alperovich, his father ran all of cyber warfare for Russia. And then I found that he was writing backdoors. He was working for the CIA, and he was writing backdoors in all of our antivirus software. So he was figuring out this quarter's antivirus software, but then they were planning a bug so that it would blow up your system again in 3 months, so that you had to get another antivirus. And when that was happening, when you were downloading it, it was also uploading your URLs that you visited. So
Wow.
that was how they were, and so that's why they kept planning new viruses so they could upload and see if you were a terrorist or whatever. Well, okay, that's unethical. That's spying on our customers. I blew up over it. They said, okay, well, there's the door because we make a lot more money from CIA than we make from you, so get the hell out. And um, and I didn't think anything was going to happen. I never thought it would come up again. Well, 16 years later, here comes Dmitry Alperovich again. And guess what? He's the white knight on the horse coming into the DNC. He's working for a company called CrowdStrike, and he found that the DNC was hacked, right? It wasn't, oh, the poor DNC. No, they weren't hacked. It was a fake hack. They were dangling these emails to everybody in the Trump campaign wearing shoes, including to Trump 10 different times, to try to entrap him into a collusive agreement to get dirt. And they thought Trump would go for it. But as soon as I saw that, I was working in Silicon Valley making a lot of money, right? And doing really well. And when I saw that, I said, what difference does it make how much money I make? If this kind of lie, if they're portraying this fox who's, doing all this backdoor shit as the hero, then what good is it? Somebody has to come out and tell this truth. Otherwise, we're going to live this lie. And that's when I went from being a Bernie supporter, just because Bernie was talking about jobs, and then Trump started talking about jobs, um, to Trump, because Trump cared about American jobs. I mean, I grew up in a Fort Wayne, Indiana, which had an international harvester, the first SUV basically, and it went out of business. It got carpetbagged by Mitt Romney and Bain Capital. Like, that's not what we need, to everybody to sell out all of our assets to China like Mitt Romney. So that's when I got into this business, and I've been doing it ever since for 8 years. And I took all my money from Silicon Valley and put it into this, and you know how that goes. You
Well,
don't
it
make
seems to
it.
be a great
It's about
investment.
poverty. Yeah.
Yeah, no shit. But listen, you seem to be on the right track. So as long as you're enjoying what you're doing and doing it from the present moment, it seems to be your higher calling, synonymous with, God, the universe, whatever you want to conceptually label it. So it's a beautiful thing, to take that act of courage, because not many people do that.
Yeah, I get up at the crack of dawn, or 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. My mind is going all when I'm dreaming, I'm writing, and I get that first Substack out at 6 a.m., 6 to 7 a.m., and try to do this sort of thing at 8 a.m. And by 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I've worked, 10, 12-hour days sometimes. And so that's what I really love. And I know I'm doing the right thing because it doesn't feel like work,
No,
right? And
that's a
that's,
beautiful
they
thing.
say, yeah, and the guidance counselor says, well, what would you do if you had $1 million? It used to be the question. Now $1 million isn't enough money, but and you would say, whatever, I want to be a journalist. And then the guidance counselor would say, well, then that's what you should do. Without the $1 million, you'll get the million that way, or whatever. And I still think that's the right guidance counselor question. Well, you're doing what you want to do. You're writing and doing comedy and so forth.
Yeah, again, the risk we take when we pursue these, measures in our society, unless you have some sort of strong nepotism and it's who you know, especially in the film industry, or really any industry, it's like, you're taking temporarily a vow of poverty as an artist, you know, as a truth teller, in order to do what you love. But again, it's not. It's a vow. You say it's a vow of poverty, but in really the social economic infrastructure of the economy of the United States, of the world, is fabricated. It's really, an illusion to the essence of our innate spirit agriculturally, what we evolved from as far as living off the land, tax free. So it's more like a man-made thing rather than what we do with our calling, if that makes sense. Like our calling is not tied to poverty. That's a labelization of what happens socially and economically, but it's not the true gem or essence of spirit of what we do and what our intentions are, if that makes sense to you.
Yeah, Jesus didn't have a beamer. He only had sandals, so I have like, okay, good enough for Jesus, good enough for me. I've slept on a lot of airport, how they have those
Yeah,
little arm
the seat.
arm arm holders that make it so you can't lay across, but and those bus terminals with those plastic injected seats, I mean, but you take the good with the bad, and if you really want the story, you have to kind of chase the story. But um, I would like to do a roll up of all the stuff I've done, in just kind of in a 2 hour movie, documentary.
You'd have a good movie or series going with, I'm sure you got endless. What's the craziest thing you've ever encountered during your investigating? Like threats, like any, like,
Well, I mean, I got arrested. I mean, I was uh, chasing missing uranium. Speaking of New Jersey and so forth, there was this company called
Didn't that happen in uh
Ohio.
no, no, oh my God, what's the Bruce Will what's Bruce Willis's movie? Die Hard.
Die Hard, yeah,
Wasn't it?
yeah. Yeah, I'm chasing missing uranium in Ohio, and there used to be a whole bunch of refining, in the Cold War, but they gradually reduced it down to two, one in Kentucky, one in Ohio, and we're supposed to, after the Cold War's over, right, 91, the Clintons worked this deal that it's called megatons and megawatts, and they're supposed to decommission these 20,000 Soviet missiles and they're supposed to grab the highly enriched uranium out of the warheads, and then they're supposed to downblend it so it's not 95% weapons grade, so that it can't be stolen by terrorists. They're supposed to send it then in these huge containers that come to the port of, at that time was the port of Baltimore. And then they're supposed to put it on these trucks, and it's supposed to go to Piketon, Ohio, to be put into to be down blended so that you could use it for fuel rods. And the fuel rods were going to power all these, nuclear power plants. And that's why it was megatons to megawatts. It was going to light up, the United States for a year. That was the thing. Well, all that highly enriched uranium never made it to Piketon. And I had people that were living in Piketon, in at the nuclear reservation saying, "Oh, we clean the cylinders, but the cylinders are empty. They're fouled with plutonium 200 times more radiation, right? In these, because what happened when the Russians made their bombs is they didn't make sure that they weren't plutonium fouled when they were enriching the uranium because they were just trying to get the missiles built as fast as they could. So it's all these transuranics that was making everybody sick. They were all dying of leukemia and cancer and everything. And I'm talking to the group. I'm talking to the two lawyers that are representing the people, and I'm going and visit those people. So and they're saying, yeah, the containers are getting here, but the containers are empty. Something fell off the truck, like all of it, right? And then you find out, oh, the Democrats and the DNC, they've made a deal with Iran to give them for the nuclear deal. And oh, we did a deal with Pakistan. We did a deal with India. We did a deal with South Africa. We did a deal with Israel. We did a deal with, Gaddafi and Libya. We did a deal over here and over there. And then and then who knows how much got secreted away in some mountain for some future use. And then that's when the FBI started following me, right? And that's what the records say. And then of course, there's four guys that go into this. It's from the records. Go into this bar, and they're all buying me drinks and whatnot, and trying to get me on a drunk driving charge. And I'm still supposed to meet another person, another whistleblower who didn't want to meet me until late at night. And I don't know if that was a setup or not to get the FBI guys buying me drinks. But this is all in the record. This is all from the FOIA. Um, you know, uh, and I
Literally,
fall asleep. Who's
sorry,
that?
my Bernedoodle.
Oh, Burner Doodle. I love the Bernese Mountain Dog, and the doodles are cool too. So anyway, bottom line in the story is I fall asleep in the car. Oh, I
Hold on, George. I'm sorry. I have to,
sure.
hold on. I
Bring him
apologize.
on screen or bring her on screen.
He's always on screen, but I will. Hold on one second. I don't know
The
who.
audience, my audience is
Someone rang the doorbell for some
oh,
reason during this interview. I have no guests expected. So hold on one second.
NSA.
If this
Sure.
ends because it says it's going to end, I'll just restart it and then yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, Bailey, shush. Oh, there's a big kettlebell.
Oh, there we go. There we go.
Ugh.
Are you recording this?
On my cameras, but not
Yeah,
here.
you
Let's.
gotta record this.
Yeah.
Recording in progress.
Recording in progress. So Bailey's going to take over for the interview now.
Oh, he's great.
Oh.
And he wants to go for a walk.
Yeah, he's ready to party. But I can talk to you for hours. You have endless, interesting material and you have an interesting life, to say the least. And what you do is incredibly, definitely courageous and heroic because you're genuinely speaking the truth, which is vibrantly refreshing in a society that desires more truth. So it's in your favor now, for sure, in our favor. As people who peacefully fight for freedom, it's things are definitely changing. I feel towards a more fruitful measure for us.
Yeah, well, let's keep up the good work and let's do this again. I want to watch Amnesia, and I want to be on the inside track to see what's happening with this new murder mystery thing too. I want to know where it's going to be set. I want to be I don't want to necessarily want to watch a GoPro on the location guy as he's going from train car to train car, but well, maybe I do. I kind of want to know where the thing's going to happen. Is it going to happen on a train? No, it's going to happen at a B&B,
I
right?
wish I could afford a train. That would be gnarly if it was on a train. It's going to be an Airbnb, but it's in the title, Rest in Peace Bed and Breakfast. But a bed and breakfast could be on a train too. Who knows? Who's to say? That'd be a cool bed and
Gotta get
breakfast.
there.
They got to get there somehow, right?
Yeah.
Where is the B&B going to be?
I don't know. I'm still location scouting. I'm breaking it up into the chapters. That's how, well, to go into like pre-production stuff, it's going to be each story, each chapter is kind of like a short film in itself. So that's how I'm going to shoot it. It's also to put funds away or to raise funds. So when I can get a big place, a big bed and breakfast, then it'll work out that way. But until then, it's going to be shot like a short film in all different locations, exteriors, interiors. The big party is the bed and breakfast. So we just got to find the right location, but it comes, it'll come. And now we're just experimenting, doing other stuff. I've never done interviews in my life until the other day. With you, you're my second interview, believe it or not. It's something new that I'm incorporating to Loayza Studios into me as an artist because I haven't tried it. Someone asked me to interview them. I work with this company called Grassroots Health, and they spread worldwide vitamin D awareness. I work with D sunshine. So they work with getting the guidelines up with the United States and throughout the world. So they're a lovely organization, and she actually asked me to interview her. So I was like, all right, never did that before, and that's why I was like, you know what? Let me try this. And I discovered you. I'm like, oh, dude, this guy definitely has some interesting things to say. So and that's just sort of how it came to be. Because usually I don't know where I'm going to put my time, because it's, as you know, it's a lot of work as far as what we do in different genres of what we do. But I love talking to people and listening and learning. So it's good nonetheless, and it's something new to try. And wishfully you enjoyed my interview style and
Yeah, well, I think conversations are always the best interviews, I think. And just before I forget on vitamin D, because that's one of the things. Vitamin D synthesis is interesting because it happens, like D3 is downstream from D and D2 is downstream from D3. And then it's processed all over your body, as part of the
stimulates
whole.
melatonin, super
Yeah.
antioxidant. It's crazy.
But there are also people that can't uptake vitamin D no matter how much they take. And there's two genes. And the only reason I know this is because um, I wanted my kids to go into medicine. And one of the guys who was a lecturer 20 years ago when my kids were little, like 10, is a guy named Leroy Hood, and he got into this. He did the Human Genome Project. He came up with the human genome, the gene sequencer. He invented it in order to find these health things that were associated with certain genes. So he had his heart in the right place always. He was at the University of Washington. It was close to my home at that time. We could take the kids up and hear the lectures. And now, 30 years later, right, he's doing these lectures and he's talking about these 81 genetic markers, and it makes doctors be better doctors. So I just want to put a pitch out there for all the doctors that Leroy Hood's still doing what he's doing, and he's got this 81 thing. And one of them is his own problem with genetic uptake, won't uptake vitamin D. So you could be throwing down all the vitamin D you think, and then you've got this deficiency and you don't know why. Make sure your doctor gets Leroy Hood's check if they don't have it, because it could be that you just have these two deficient genes that he has. So anyway,
No, that's really cool. I'm going to mention that. I'm going to mention that to Jen over at Grassroots Health. I'm sure they're aware of all these things, but if not, that's pretty gnarly, vital information. Because vitamin D, as we know,
a scorecard of all these things on 81 different markers. So I just thought it would be interesting since you're in that business, because you're kind of like you're turning into like an information purveyor if you're getting out of the movie business and you're getting into this as an interviewer. So that's just to pass that along. But I went up to just to speak of New Jersey. I went way up north, and there was this 2017. I went with my partner who was an ex-cop. She was an ex-cop and became an investigator herself. And she wanted to go visit this Marine who was at a care home in all the way up north. And he wanted to talk to someone who had been in Guadalcanal because all of his friends in Guadalcanal had died. And he was about ready to die in this hospice care, and he wanted just to talk to somebody. And my dad was in Guadalcanal in the army, and the army relieved the Marines in Guadalcanal. So I drove up there, and unfortunately, he died before we could get there. But but the area up there is kind of like very pastoral and very farmlandish. I know it's probably that way out in Essex County or wherever, you live, but people think of New Jersey as like oil refineries because they're used to doing the New Jersey Turnpike. There's a lot of really super beautiful farms out in, Princeton might be a good place to do this story because it's very collegiate. I don't know. I'm just throwing out some ideas of
No,
where.
it's Jersey is beautiful. I mean, you're right. It's like you see that turnpike and the all the different highways that are like sort of consumeristic industrial cesspools, but the side towns and all these different like there's so many different places and such historic culture. It's really interesting. And New Jersey history is super interesting. All the weird stories, myths, and conspiracy theories, all different things in the area. It's pretty cool. You
Yeah,
know.
Trenton and Princeton. There's a whole bunch there. We have what we call news gatherings. We call charrettes. So a lot of people in the creative industry sometimes do this, but we get like a dozen people for a week to 2 weeks, and we do deep dives on news stories. We call them also Learning Man as opposed to Burning Man, where you're just hedonistically, all getting, drug addled and, whatever happens after that. So a lot of our people will suggest things, so you can almost use the research community to help you build your movie, for less money.
No, for
Because people say,
sure.
oh, you could come to my B&B and film it, I'll get great advertising out of this thing, et cetera, like placements, which helps. I used to know a location guy, and it was funny. He would go up and knock on these houses, and they were either be like, we want to use your place for a shot. And the people would say, well, do we pay you money?
Yeah, I know people have that misconception. It's rather funny in that degree.
No, it's like the movie company should be paying you money. But then there's other people that want some outrageous and dollar total. So it's everything in between. But I don't know if you crowdsource your movies or not. But anyway, I wanted to kibitz a little
You
bit.
know what? I That's what I've been leaning. Bailey wants to crowdsource. That's what I've been leaning towards for this movie. Come here, son. Chill out. But George, being that there's so many distractions now, and I apologize for that because I
Yeah,
didn't know this was going to happen. I want you to tell us where we can find your work and what we can do to help you.
sure. It's George Webb, real George Webb one on Twitter, and then it's George Webb .substack.com on substack.com on Substack. Those are my two primary things. My sole source of income is just the people who want to contribute paid Substack at georgewebb.substack.com for $8 a month. Most of my folks that follow me are free, but that's how I eat.
Beautiful. Well, I'll definitely be sure to link all of those. And no, thank you so much for giving me your time, man. It was really thoroughly enjoy. I just enjoyed it immensely. And like I could talk again, I could talk to you for hours. So we're gonna have to do this again for sure.
Let's do it again. All right. Say goodbye to Bailey and give uh, s- people send in dog biscuits to Michael. Send
We
in
need
chew
more
toys.
dog visits. Bailey's preference is tendons, beef tendons, grass fed. He loves them. Collagen. Got to keep his skin pure and beautiful. Works synergistically with the D.
Is he a ball dog or is he a stick dog?
he doesn't identify as a ball dog nor a sick dog. He just enjoys being a dog. He kind of has it. He's more advanced than humans. He loves both equally. He loves breaking sticks. Like he'll take 6-foot long sticks and just break it on his back. He goes nuts with it. But he loves chewing on balls. He kind of has like a nervous compulsion. Like, I feel like Bailey would be like a cocaine addict if he was human because he's always chewing. He's always just crazy. He always has so much energy. I love it. It rubs off on me. It's good.
Good. All right. Next time.
Yeah, George. I appreciate your time very much and your services as a investigative journalist, and thank you for your contribution to helping not just the American public but everyone throughout the world just find true news. As Trump would say, not fake news, not CNN, not fake news, your true news. So it's vibrantly refreshing, and thank you for that, brother.
Thank you.
Hi, darling. Where are you? You didn't call me all day. Call me. Make my day. Love you. Hello?